Nintendo, a century of play, from cards to consoles, innovation to inspiration. Chapter 1, Introduction, more than just a game. Consider, for a moment, the simple joy of a shared experience. The effortless swing of an imaginary tennis racket in a living room, the frantic scramble to collect gleaming coins in a vibrant digital landscape. Or the quiet, focused intensity of guiding a small, green-clad hero through a sprawling fantasy world. These moments, ingrained in the collective consciousness of generations worldwide, are hallmarks of an entertainment icon unlike any other. They are the essence of Nintendo. For many, the name Nintendo is synonymous with video games, with iconic characters like Mario, Link, and Pikachu, and groundbreaking consoles that have redefined interactive entertainment. Yet, to truly understand Nintendo is to look beyond the pixelated heroes and motion-sensing controllers. It is to journey through over a century of history, discovering a company that has defied convention, embraced reinvention, and consistently found innovative ways to connect people through the universal language of play. Think of it, the company responsible for the groundbreaking Nintendo Switch, the global phenomenon that blended home and portable gaming, was born not from silicon chips and digital code, but from humble paper and ink. In 1889, in Kyoto, Japan, Fusajiro Yamauchi established Nintendo Koppai to produce Hanafuda intricate, hand-painted playing cards. From this artisanal, analog beginning, a lineage of entrepreneurs, engineers, and dreamers would guide Nintendo through a bewildering array of transformations, navigating economic downturns, technological revolutions, and intense competition. Nintendo's story is a testament to resilience and an almost stubborn commitment to its own unique vision. Unlike many tech giants that sprung up in the latter half of the 20th century, Nintendo's roots stretch back to an era of gas lamps and horse-drawn carriages. This longevity isn't just a historical footnote, it's a living blueprint for adaptability. Over its long life, Nintendo has experimented with everything from love hotels and taxi services to instant rice, often failing spectacularly, before ever touching a microprocessor. These early missteps were not setbacks in a linear progression, but rather crucial, if sometimes painful, lessons in diversification and discovery. It wasn't until the latter half of the 20th century that Nintendo stumbled into electronics and arcade games, a venture that would, against all odds, save American home entertainment. A young, unproven industrial designer named Shigeru Miyamoto, tasked with salvaging a colossal failure, would conjure up Donkey Kong, giving birth to a carpenter named Jumpman, who would soon transform into the globally beloved Mario. From that point on, Nintendo's trajectory would become inextricably linked with the burgeoning world of video games. But even within the gaming industry, Nintendo has consistently charted its own course. When others chased graphical prowess, Nintendo championed accessibility with the Wii. When companies prioritized online multiplayer, Nintendo doubled down on local, shared experiences. When handhelds seemed to be an afterthought for some, Nintendo dominated the portable market with the Game Boy, an enduring symbol of clever, withered technology. This philosophy of fun first, of inviting innovation and focusing on novel ways to interact, runs deep in Nintendo's DNA. It explains why a simple idea, like a pair of detachable controllers, could evolve into a cultural touchstone like the Nintendo Switch. The pages that follow will unpack this extraordinary journey. We will explore the key figures who shaped the company, from the autocratic Hiroshi Yamauchi, who dragged Nintendo into the modern age, to the visionary Satoru Iwata, who broadened its horizons. We will delve into the creation of legendary consoles and games, examine the pivotal business decisions, and reveal the creative philosophies that set Nintendo apart. We will witness how Nintendo has, time and again, turned crises into opportunities, and how its seemingly whimsical approach often masks a deeply strategic understanding of human nature and the timeless desire to play. This is more than a story about a company or its products. It's a narrative about creativity, risk, evolution, and the enduring magic of interactive entertainment. It is the story of Nintendo, a company that, through all its transformations, has remained singularly focused on bringing joy, connection, and above all, the simple, profound magic of play to millions around the globe. Chapter 2: Hanafuda and humiliation. The early days, 1889 to 1960s. To understand how a company synonymous with digital worlds and virtual heroes first found its footing, we must travel back over 130 years, to Kyoto, Japan, in the late 19th century. The year is 1889. The world is a very different place. No internet, no electricity in most homes, and certainly no video games. It was in this analog era that Fusajiro Yamachi, a craftsman with an entrepreneurial spirit, founded a small business called Nintendo Koppai. His product, handcrafted playing cards known as Hanafuda or flower cards. These weren't the Western-style cards we might imagine today. Hanafuda are smaller, thicker, and adorned with exquisite illustrations of nature scenes and poetry, representing the 12 months of the year. They are used in various card games, some of which had, and still have, associations with gambling in Japan. This historical context meant that Nintendo, from its very inception, operated in a somewhat shadowy corner of entertainment, navigating regulations and public perception surrounding gambling. The quality of Nintendo's cards, however, quickly earned them a strong reputation, helping the small firm expand beyond Kyoto. The business was successful enough to thrive for decades as a family-run enterprise, passed down through the generations. By the mid-20th century, the traditional Hanafuda market had its limitations. The world was modernizing rapidly, and the demand for traditional playing cards had peaked. Enter Hiroshi Yamachi, Fusajiro's great-grandson, who inherited the presidency in 1949 at the tender age of 21. His ascension marked a pivotal, often ruthless, turn for Nintendo. Hiroshi Yamachi was known for his autocratic leadership, his sharp business mind, and his utter contempt for tradition if it stood in the way of progress. He inherited a company reliant on a fading product in a saturated market, and he knew it had to change or die. Yamachi's reign, particularly through the turbulent 1960s, became a frantic, often comically absurd, search for a new identity for Nintendo. He was willing to try anything. He envisioned Nintendo as a sprawling conglomerate, desperately throwing ideas at the wall to see what might stick. And most of them didn't. One of his more infamous ventures was a chain of love hotels. These short-stay establishments, designed for couples seeking discreet rendezvous, represented Yamachi's willingness to dive into any market he thought might turn a profit, no matter how far removed from playing cards. The experiment was short-lived and ultimately unsuccessful, a bizarre footnote that illustrates his nothing-to-lose experimental philosophy. Next came a taxi service called Daya Taxi. The idea was simple: run a small, efficient taxi fleet. In practice, it was plagued by union disputes, high operating costs, and strong competition. It, too, quickly folded. The list of failed diversifications continued. Instant rice, vacuum cleaners, and even a food processing business that produced freeze-dried ramen. Yamachi's scattergun approach saw Nintendo try to force its way into wildly disparate, competitive industries where it had no expertise or competitive advantage. These episodes were commercially humiliating, draining the company's resources and reputation. Nintendo seemed adrift, a company desperately seeking relevance in a rapidly changing economy. However, amidst this flurry of failures, there were glimmers of insight, subtle shifts that hinted at a future path. In 1959, Nintendo made a surprisingly astute move and secured the license to produce playing cards featuring Disney characters. This was an unprecedented step for the traditional Hanafuda maker, leveraging a massively popular Western entertainment brand to appeal to a broader, family-oriented audience. The Disney cards were a huge success, briefly revitalizing sales and even allowing Nintendo to go public in 1962. It was a fleeting boom, but it provided a crucial glimpse into the power of leveraging popular intellectual property, IP, and diversifying into general entertainment, even if it was still within the playing card segment. The common thread uniting Yamachi's seemingly reckless ventures was a relentless pursuit of new revenue streams, a willingness to dismantle the old guard, and an almost pathological curiosity about what could generate new growth. While most of his early diversifications ended in ignominious defeat, they instilled in Nintendo a deep-seated culture of experimentation, a lack of fear regarding failure, and a constant drive to innovate beyond its comfort zone. Little did anyone know, the seeds of Nintendo's true calling, though not yet visible, were being inadvertently sown in the ashes of these early, bizarre ventures. The lessons learned from the love hotels and taxicabs would, in an unpredictable twist of fate, pave the way for a very different kind of play. Chapter 3: The Arcade Pioneers. Laser Clay and Donkey Kong 1970s, early 1980s. The 1960s had been a decade of bewildering experimentation and costly failures for Nintendo. But by the dawn of the 1970s, a new direction slowly began to coalesce. The catalyst wasn't a grand corporate strategy, but rather a chance observation and a flash of creative insight from an unlikely source within the company ranks. A young engineer by the name of Gunpei Yokoi. Yokoi, fresh out of university, was working on the production line when Hiroshi Yamauchi, ever the curious wanderer, spotted him building a collapsible, extendable arm for his daughter during a factory visit. Intrigued, Yamauchi ordered Yokoi to commercialize it. The result, in 1966, was the Ultra Hand. A simple toy priced at a few dollars. It became an overnight sensation, selling over 1.2 million units. The Ultra Hand wasn't revolutionary in its technology, but in its clever application of basic mechanics. It perfectly encapsulated Yokoi's emerging design philosophy: lateral thinking with withered technology. This meant taking cheap, widely available, and often outdated technology and repurposing it in novel, ingenious ways to create something fresh and engaging. This philosophy would become a cornerstone of Nintendo's future success. The Ultra Hand spurred Nintendo's entry into the toy market, a stepping stone towards electronics. Yokoi continued to design hit toys like the 10 Billion Barrels puzzle and the Love Tester. As the 1970s progressed, Nintendo's focus shifted towards electronic entertainment. They dabbled in light gun games for arcades, such as the Kosenju SB series, and in 1977 launched their own series of home video game consoles called Color TV Game in partnership with Mitsubishi Electric. These early forays were important learning experiences, slowly building Nintendo's internal expertise in electronic development and manufacturing. Nintendo's ambition, stoked by Yamauchi, soon turned towards the burgeoning arcade market. They found early success with games like EVR Race, a horse racing simulator, and Computer Othello. The arcades were a proving ground, a high-stakes environment where a company could learn about game design, player engagement, and hardware reliability. Then came the year 1980, and with it, a near catastrophe that would inadvertently become Nintendo's saving grace. Nintendo of America, headed by Yamauchi's son-in-law Minoru Arakawa, ordered thousands of arcade cabinets for a space shooter called Radar Scope. The game had been moderately successful in Japan, but its complex gameplay and uninspired design proved to be a critical failure in the competitive American market. Thousands of Radar Scope machines sat unsold in Nintendo of America's warehouses, pushing the fledgling subsidiary to the brink of bankruptcy. Desperate, Arakawa appealed to his father-in-law for a solution. Yamauchi, seeing an opportunity to salvage the expensive cabinets, turned to a young, unproven employee he had hired in 1977 as an industrial designer, Shigeru Miyamoto. Miyamoto had no formal game design experience, having primarily designed cabinet art for Nintendo's earlier arcade machines. Yamauchi gave him a simple, yet daunting, directive: transform the unsold Radar Scope machines into something new, something that would appeal to the American audience. Miyamoto, with the assistance of Yokoi, rose to the challenge. He envisioned a game about a love triangle between a carpenter, his girlfriend, and a gorilla. The hero, originally called Jumpman, would eventually evolve into the iconic Mario. The damsel in distress was Pauline, and the antagonist, a monstrous ape, was originally named Mr. Ape but became Donkey Kong, a name Miyamoto intended to mean stubborn ape. When Donkey Kong hit American arcades in 1981, it was an instant, colossal hit. Its vibrant graphics, novel platforming gameplay, and clear narrative captivated players. Against all odds, Miyamoto had turned a costly failure into an extraordinary success, single-handedly saving Nintendo's American operation. The success of Donkey Kong wasn't without its challenges. Universal Studios, claiming the game infringed on their King Kong copyright, sued Nintendo. However, Nintendo, represented by their tenacious U.S. counsel Howard Lincoln, aggressively fought the lawsuit and ultimately won, revealing that Universal did not, in fact, hold exclusive rights to the King Kong character. This courtroom victory not only saved Nintendo a fortune, but also cemented its reputation as a resilient, fighting challenger in the fast-paced entertainment industry. The Donkey Kong phenomenon proved two crucial things for Nintendo. First, that it had a knack for creating compelling electronic games, and second, that it possessed truly exceptional creative talent in Miyamoto and Yaka. These two individuals, with their contrasting yet complementary philosophies, would become the creative pillars upon which Nintendo's future gaming empire would be built. The humiliation of Radarscope had led to the triumph of Donkey Kong, signaling a new era for the former card manufacturer, one where games, not cards, would define its destiny. Chapter 4: The NES Revolution. Saving an Industry, 1983 to 1990. The early 1980s were a roller coaster for the nascent video game industry. After the meteoric rise of arcade hits like Space Invaders and Pac-Man, the home console market initially exploded. But this boom contained the seeds of its own destruction. A deluge of low-quality, shovelware games glutted the market, eroding consumer confidence. Iconic companies like Atari made catastrophic missteps, most notably the much-maligned E.T. the Extraterrestrial game. By 1983, the video game industry in North America had crashed spectacularly. Retailers, burned by unsold inventory and disillusioned customers, swore off video games entirely, viewing them as a passing fad. It was into this desolate landscape, unbeknownst to most, that Nintendo, fresh off the success of Donkey Kong, was preparing its most ambitious gambit yet: a dedicated home console. In Japan, named the Famicom Family Computer, it launched in 1983. Initial units suffered from a technical glitch, but once resolved, the Famicom became an unprecedented success in its home market. Its powerful hardware for the time, boasting 8-bit graphics, and stellar games like Donkey Kong and Mario Bros. Quickly made it a household staple across Japan. The challenge was bringing it to the United States. Retailers still viewed video games as toxic. Nintendo of America, led by Minoru Arakawa and Nintendo of America's lawyer Howard Lincoln, knew they had to perform a delicate rebranding operation. They chose not to call it a video game console at all. Instead, it was marketed as the Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES, and presented as a sophisticated toy or an entertainment device, a Trojan horse designed to bypass the industry's negative stigma. The NES launched in select U.S. markets in 1985, accompanied by a clever, if desperate, marketing ploy: ROB, the Robotic Operating Buddy. ROB was a largely superfluous peripheral that interacted minimally with two games, Gyromite and Stack Up. Its real purpose was not gameplay, but marketing. By bundling the NES with ROB and the Zapper Light Gun, for games like Duck Hunt, Nintendo could position the system as a revolutionary, multifaceted toy, distinct from the failed game consoles of the past. Retailers, enticed by the toy angle, cautiously bought in. This was a masterstroke in psychological marketing, a direct result of decades of Nintendo's experience in the toy industry. Beyond clever marketing, the NES succeeded on two critical fronts: groundbreaking software and meticulous business strategy. The launch bundle often included Super Mario Bros., a game that would forever change the landscape of video gaming. Designed by Shigeru Miyamoto, Super Mario Bros. Transcended its arcade predecessor. It wasn't just a game, it was a masterclass in level design, intuitive controls, and a sense of boundless discovery. Its vibrant world, precise physics, hidden secrets, and organic difficulty progression made it accessible to newcomers, yet endlessly replayable for hardcore gamers. It practically invented the modern side-scrolling platformer and established Mario as a global icon. Nintendo also learned from the Atari crash and instituted aggressive, some might say draconian, quality control measures. To publish games on the NES, third-party developers had to sign strict contracts. They could produce only 5 games per year, were required to grant Nintendo 2 years of exclusivity, and, crucially, had to pay a licensing fee and use Nintendo's proprietary cartridge manufacturing. To enforce this, Nintendo implemented the 10NES lockout chip, a technological gatekeeper that prevented unauthorized or unlicensed games from running on the system. This ensured a consistent supply of high-quality software, restored consumer trust, and gave Nintendo unprecedented control over the nascent video game industry. While this monopolistic control would eventually lead to resentment among third-party developers, in the immediate aftermath of the crash, it was seen as a necessary safeguard. The NES quickly became a cultural phenomenon. Its success spawned legendary titles that define genres and continue to resonate today. The Legend of Zelda, which introduced open-world adventure gaming with its vast Hyrule overworld and challenging dungeons. Metroid, a pioneering action-adventure game with a focus on exploration and atmosphere, and countless others that became instant classics. By the end of the 1980s, Nintendo had not only resurrected the North American video game market, but had also cemented its position as its undisputed leader. From selling playing cards, to experimental taxis, to a near-fatal arcade flop, Nintendo had discovered its true calling. The NES wasn't just a gaming console. It was a cultural touchstone that ignited the passion of millions, saved an industry from collapse, and laid the foundation for Nintendo's unparalleled dominance for decades to come. The era of the digital kingdom had begun. Chapter 5. Game Boy Goes Global. Portable Powerhouse, 1989 to 1995. With the Nintendo Entertainment System firmly established as a household name, Nintendo once again turned its innovative gaze to new frontiers. While the NES conquered living rooms, the vision for true gaming on the go emerged from the mind of Gunpei Yokoi, the very same engineer who had brought the Ultra Hand to life decades earlier. Yokoi's philosophy of lateral thinking with withered technology was about to find its most iconic expression. The concept was simple yet revolutionary, a truly portable gaming device that could be played anywhere, anytime. The result was the Game Boy, launched in Japan in April 1989 and shortly thereafter in North America. By all accounts, on paper, the Game Boy should have been a technological underdog. It featured a monochrome screen displaying 4 shades of gray, a relatively small processor, and required 4 AA batteries. In the same era, competitors like the Atari Lynx and the Sega Game Gear boasted full-color screens and more powerful chipsets. So, why did the Game Boy utterly dominate the handheld market, outselling its rivals by orders of magnitude? The answer lies squarely in Gunpei Yokoi's withered technology philosophy. While the Lynx and Game Gear offered superior graphics, they did so at a significant cost: battery life. They guzzled power, offering only a few hours of playtime. The Game Boy, by contrast, with its less demanding technology, could run for an astonishing 10 to 30 hours on a single set of batteries. It was more affordable, more durable, and infinitely more practical for actual portable play. In the world of on-the-go gaming, practicality trumped raw power every single time. Battery life wasn't just a feature. It was a killer app. But practicality alone wasn't enough to make the Game Boy a global sensation. It also needed a game that appealed to everyone, regardless of age, gender, or gaming experience. Nintendo found that game in a seemingly unlikely place: the Soviet Union. The game was Tetris. The story of how Tetris came to be bundled with the Game Boy is a saga worthy of its own book, a complex web of international intrigue, competing licenses, and high-stakes negotiations that bordered on corporate espionage. Created by Russian programmer Alexei Pajitnov, Tetris had already taken the computer world by storm. Various companies held rights to different versions: arcade, PC, etc. The pivotal moment came when Henk Rogers, a Dutch game designer and entrepreneur, found himself in Moscow, tirelessly negotiating to secure the rights for Nintendo. He squared off against powerful individuals and even the Soviet government-controlled agency, ELORG, Elektroenerg Technica. Despite multiple companies claiming various rights, Rogers, with Nintendo's backing, skillfully argued for and eventually secured the crucial handheld rights to Tetris. The decision to bundle Tetris with the Game Boy was a stroke of genius. Its simple, addictive puzzle gameplay was instantly understandable, endlessly replayable, and universally appealing. It transcended traditional gaming demographics, drawing in casual players, parents, and even grandparents. While Super Mario Land offered a traditional platforming experience, Tetris was the game that convinced millions, including many who had never touched a video game before, that the Game Boy was an essential piece of hardware. It normalized gaming in public spaces, on trains, planes, and waiting rooms, changing social perceptions of what gaming could be. The Game Boy's success paved the way for massive franchises that would define the handheld space for years. Later in its life cycle, in 1996, the Game Boy received another shot in the arm with the release of Pokémon Red and Pokémon Blue. The creature collecting, training, and battling RPG became another cultural phenomenon, ensuring the Game Boy's relevance well into the next decade, long after its monochrome screen should have become obsolete. The Game Boy wasn't just Nintendo's next big hit. It was a profound vindication of Gunpei Yakai's design philosophy. It demonstrated that innovation didn't always mean cutting-edge technology. Sometimes it meant cleverly repurposing existing solutions, prioritizing user experience, like battery life over raw horsepower, and finding the right killer app to unlock its mass appeal. The Game Boy globalized portable gaming, transforming it from a niche hobby into a ubiquitous pastime and cementing Nintendo's legacy as the undisputed king of handheld entertainment. Chapter 6. The 3D Frontier. N64, PlayStation, and a Mario masterpiece, 1996 to 2001. As the mid-1990s approached, the video game landscape was on the cusp of another seismic shift, the move into three-dimensional graphics. Arcades had already showcased dazzling 3D experiences, and the arrival of CD-ROM technology promised massive storage capacity, ushering in a new era of complex games with full-motion video and rich audio. Nintendo, having dominated the 2D console and handheld markets for a decade, faced a crucial strategic decision. Their answer was the Nintendo 64 N64, codenamed Project Reality during development, and launched in June 1996 in Japan and September 1996 in North America. Developed in collaboration with Silicon Graphics, a leader in 3D workstation technology, the N64 was designed from the ground up to be a powerful 3D machine. Its distinctive three-pronged controller, with its analog stick, was specifically engineered to provide precise control in three-dimensional environments, a revolutionary feature at the time. However, Nintendo made a pivotal choice that would dramatically reshape the console wars. They stuck with cartridges. Their rationale was sound, from a certain perspective. Cartridges offered faster loading times, were more durable, and eliminated piracy concerns prevalent with CD-ROMs. But the downsides were immense. Cartridges had significantly lower storage capacity, typically 8 to 64 MB compared to 650 MB for CDs, and were far more expensive to manufacture than CDs. This decision alienated many crucial third-party developers, particularly those creating role-playing games, RPGs, which often required vast amounts of storage for elaborate narratives, dialogue, and cinematic sequences. The most significant defection came from Square, now Square Enix, the creators of the hugely popular Final Fantasy series. Seeing the limitations of cartridge technology, Square moved their flagship series, and many other titles, to the CD-ROM-based platform of Nintendo's fiercest new rival. Sony's foray into the video game market was born from a spectacularly botched collaboration with Nintendo. Originally, Sony was tapped to develop a CD-ROM add-on for the Super Nintendo, SNES. At the Consumer Electronics Show, CES, in 1991, Nintendo, without informing Sony, announced a surprise partnership with Philips for a competing CD-ROM project, effectively scuttling their deal with Sony on the public stage. Insulted and with valuable hardware development experience under its belt, Sony decided to go it alone, launching the PlayStation in late 1994 in Japan and September 1995 in North America. The PlayStation, leveraging CD-ROMs and aggressively courting third-party developers with favorable licensing terms, quickly gained momentum. It proved to be a formidable challenger, targeting a slightly older, more mature demographic than Nintendo. Despite the loss of crucial third-party support, Nintendo's internal development teams once again delivered. The N64 launched with a game that critics and players alike hailed as a masterpiece: Super Mario 64. Shigeru Miyamoto and his team tackled the daunting challenge of translating a 2D icon into a fully explorable 3D world. They succeeded beyond all expectations. Super Mario 64 didn't just put Mario in 3D, it redefined 3D platforming. Its innovative camera system, fluid character movement, and open-ended level design gave players an unprecedented sense of freedom and discovery. The game was a masterclass in elegant design, demonstrating how to make a 3D world navigable and fun. 2 years later, Nintendo released another groundbreaking title, The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. This game set new benchmarks for 3D action-adventure games, weaving a complex narrative through a vast, detailed world. Its innovative Z-targeting system, which allowed players to lock onto enemies and objects, became an industry standard for 3D combat. Both Super Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time remain on many greatest games of all time lists, showcasing Nintendo's continued unparalleled ability to craft first-party software that pushed technological and design boundaries. However, the N64 ultimately lagged behind the PlayStation in sales. While its exclusives were monumental, the lack of a broad third-party library meant less variety and fewer options for consumers. The PlayStation, with its lower game prices due to cheaper CD manufacturing, vast library, and appeal to a broader demographic, became the console of choice for millions, cementing Sony's place as a dominant force in the video game industry. The N64 era was a mixed bag for Nintendo. They pioneered true 3D gaming and delivered some of their most critically acclaimed titles, but their stubborn adherence to cartridge technology cost them dearly in third-party relations and market share. It was a clear demonstration that even with brilliant first-party magic, critical strategic decisions, particularly around software distribution and developer relations, could fundamentally alter a console's destiny. Nintendo had proven it could still make masterpieces, but the game had fundamentally changed, and new players were eager to lay claim to the throne. Chapter 7: Beyond the Cube. GameCube's challenge and GBA's reign, 2001 to 2004. As the 21st century dawned, Nintendo faced a dramatically altered console landscape. The PlayStation 2, launched in 2000, was not just a gaming console, but a full-fledged entertainment device, boasting DVD playback and becoming the fastest-selling console in history. Adding to the competition, tech giant Microsoft threw its considerable weight into the arena with the Xbox, launched in 2001, determined to carve out its own slice of the lucrative gaming pie. Nintendo, still reeling from the N64's struggle against the PlayStation, needed a clear and powerful response. Their answer was the Nintendo GameCube, released in September 2001 in Japan and November 2001 in North America. Unlike the N64, the GameCube embraced disc-based media. Though it opted for proprietary mini-DVDs rather than standard DVD-ROMs, it was a compact, colorful console, powerful for its generation, and designed to prioritize gaming performance above all else. Nintendo aimed to shed the kiddie console image that some perceived, offering a robust library of technically impressive first-party titles. The GameCube launched with strong initial sales and a solid lineup of games. Super Mario Sunshine took Mario to a tropical island, introducing a new water-powered FLUDD device. More significantly, Retro Studios, an American developer acquired by Nintendo, delivered Metroid Prime, a stunning first-person adventure that reimagined the classic Metroid series in 3D, garnering universal critical acclaim and proving Nintendo could successfully nurture external talent. Even The Legend of Zelda. The Wind Waker, initially controversial for its cel-shaded, cartoon-like art style, was later recognized as a masterpiece for its vibrant world and engaging gameplay. Despite the critical acclaim for its games and solid hardware, the GameCube struggled to gain significant market share. It faced an uphill battle against the PlayStation 2's overwhelming dominance and the Xbox's aggressive entry and early embrace of online gaming. The perception of the GameCube as a family-friendly, or kiddie console, while appealing to some demographics, meant it often failed to attract the broader, older, and perhaps cooler players gravitating towards the PS2 and Xbox. Third-party support, while improved from the N64 era, remained secondary to Sony and Microsoft's platforms. However, where Nintendo's home console struggled, its handheld division continued its virtually unchallenged reign. The Game Boy Advance (GBA), launched in March 2001, was everything the N64 had been and wasn't. It was a powerful, 32-bit handheld that essentially offered Super Nintendo-level graphics on the go. Its compact design, long battery life, and backward compatibility with original Game Boy and Game Boy Color cartridges made it an instant hit. The GBA cemented Nintendo's dominance in portable gaming, offering a vast array of high-quality titles ranging from new Mario and Zelda adventures to revamped classic arcade games and original RPGs. It showed that even as the home console market became a fierce three-way battle, Nintendo still held a monopoly on handheld entertainment. Perhaps the most significant development of this era, however, occurred not in a product launch, but in the executive suite. In 2002, Hiroshi Yamauchi, after over 50 years at the helm, gracefully stepped down as president. His successor was a surprising but ultimately inspired choice: Satoru Iwata. Iwata was the first Nintendo president who was not part of the Yamauchi family. And crucially, he was a former programmer and president of HAL Laboratory, a longtime development partner of Nintendo. Iwata understood games from the inside out. His appointment signaled a shift towards a more transparent, developer-centric leadership style, a stark contrast to Yamauchi's autocratic rule. This change at the top, coupled with the lessons learned from the GameCube's struggles, would prove instrumental in setting the stage for Nintendo's next, truly revolutionary, act. Nintendo had faced tough competition before, but the battle for the living room was clearly escalating. It was time for a dramatic pivot. Chapter 8: Blue Ocean Strategy. The rise of DS and Wii, 2004 to 2010. By the mid-2000s, Satoru Iwata, now president of Nintendo, faced a dilemma. The GameCube, despite its critical successes, had been outsold by its competitors, the PlayStation 2 and Xbox. The console market was becoming a red ocean, a shark-infested arena where competitors fought viciously for existing customers, driving down profits and innovation. Iwata, with a deep understanding of both technology and human behavior, proposed a radical new approach, often referred to as the Blue Ocean Strategy. Instead of battling for existing customers in a saturated market, Nintendo would create new, uncontested market spaces, appealing to entirely new demographics who traditionally weren't interested in video games. The goal wasn't just to make games for existing gamers, but to expand the gaming population. This vision first materialized in the handheld space with the Nintendo DS dual screen, launched in late 2004. Breaking from decades of Nintendo handheld design linearity, the DS featured two screens, one of which was a touchscreen controlled by a stylus. It also included a microphone for voice input. These seemingly simple innovations were designed to open up new gameplay possibilities and make the device more intuitive for non-gamers. Early skepticism was rife, with some calling it clunky or a gimmick. However, the DS found its stride with a series of games that were a perfect embodiment of the Blue Ocean Strategy. Nintendogs, a virtual pet simulation, appealed to animal lovers of all ages, but it was brain age. Train your brain in minutes a day, also known as Dr. Kawashima's brain training, that truly cracked the market wide open. This game, presented as a series of mental exercises, attracted adults, seniors, and even parents who had previously dismissed gaming as a frivolous pastime. They saw the DS not as a game console, but as a tool for mental stimulation, a cognitive workout. The DS went on to become the best-selling handheld gaming device of all time, eventually surpassed by its hybrid successor, the Switch, selling over 154 million units worldwide. The success of the DS paved the way for Nintendo's next big gamble, the Wii. When the console was unveiled, first as revolution, many scoffed. While competitors were chasing high-definition graphics and ever more powerful processors, the Wii offered modest graphical capabilities, comparable to the GameCube. Its true innovation lay in its controller, the Wii Remote. This sleek, TV remote-like device used motion-sensing technology, allowing players to control games with intuitive gestures rather than complex button combinations. Launched in November 2006, the Wii was a phenomenon. Its marketing focused on accessibility and social play, directly targeting families and casual players. The bundled game, Wii Sports, became the console's ultimate ambassador. Its simple, pick-up-and-play mechanics, swinging the remote like a tennis racket or a bowling ball, immediately broke down the barrier of entry for literally millions of people. Grandparents, parents, children, and friends gathered in living rooms, laughing and competing, often for the first time, around a video game. The Wii's distinct white design stood out, and its accessible appeal made it an instant pop culture icon. The Wii shattered sales records. It became the fastest-selling console in history, eventually selling over 101 million units. For a time, Nintendo was once again the undisputed market leader, not by outmuscling its competitors, but by outthinking them. Iwata's vision had shifted the entire concept of what a video game system could be. The DS and Wii proved that there was a massive untapped market beyond the traditional hardcore gamer. A market that valued intuitive interaction, social connection, and a positive, inclusive approach to play over cutting-edge graphics or complex button mashing. This era was a golden age for Nintendo, a validation of its unique philosophy and its willingness to innovate beyond technological arms races. It wasn't just about selling hardware. It was about expanding the definition of who a gamer could be, inviting new faces into the world of interactive entertainment, and showing the world the true power of play. Chapter 9. The Wii U Wobble and the 3DS Comeback, 2011 to 2016. Following the monumental successes of the DS and Wii, Nintendo found itself in an enviable, yet precarious position. How do you follow up on a revolution? How do you innovate when you've already redefined the market? The answer, as it turned out, was complex, leading to a period of significant challenge and mixed fortunes for the company. First came the Nintendo 3DS, launched in 2011. Building on the DS's portability, its headline feature was glasses-free stereoscopic 3D. It was a bold move, attempting to bring a futuristic visual experience to the masses. However, the initial launch was plagued by several issues. The 3DS was priced high, at $250.99 in the US, a significant investment for a handheld device. More critically, its launch game lineup was weak, lacking the immediate, must-have title that had propelled the original DS, or the Game Boy's Tetris, to widespread adoption. Concerns about the 3D effect causing eye strain or discomfort for some users also muddied its early perception. Just a few months after launch, facing sluggish sales figures, Nintendo made an unprecedented decision. A drastic price cut from $250.99 to $170.99. This was a painful concession for any hardware manufacturer, devastating for early adopters, but it was accompanied by a shrewd measure: the Ambassador Program. Early purchasers who bought the console at the original price were given 20 free downloadable NES and Game Boy Advance games. This gesture, while not fully compensating for the price drop, helped to rebuild goodwill with the valuable early adopter market, demonstrating a rare degree of humility and accountability for a company of Nintendo's stature. The price cut, combined with a burgeoning software library that included games like Super Mario 3D Land, Mario Kart 7, Fire Emblem Awakening, and the massive global hit Pokémon X and Y, gradually turned the 3DS fortunes around. It went on to become another wildly successful handheld, eventually selling over 75 million units worldwide. Nintendo had proven its ability to course-correct and revive a system from an initially shaky start. The home console front, however, was a different story. The Wii U, launched in 2012, was intended as the successor to the monumentally successful Wii. Its central innovation was the gamepad, a large tablet-like controller with a built-in screen that offered asymmetrical gameplay, meaning different players could have different experiences tailored to their unique screens. Unfortunately, the Wii U suffered from a profound marketing miscommunication. Many consumers, and even some retailers, initially perceived the Wii U as merely an expensive accessory for the existing Wii, rather than an entirely new console. Its name, Wii U, contributed to this confusion. Nintendo struggled to articulate the unique value proposition of the gamepad, making it difficult for the public to understand why they needed a new system. Was it a tablet? Was it a console? Was it both? The message was unclear. Furthermore, the Wii U found itself trapped between generations. It wasn't as graphically powerful as the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, which launched a year later, and its unique gamepad often made it challenging for third-party developers to port existing games or create new ones without significant retooling. As a result, the console suffered from a severe lack of third-party support, leaving its game library heavily reliant on Nintendo's own output, no matter how critically acclaimed. Great games like Splatoon, Super Mario 3D World, and Mario Kart 8 couldn't overcome the console's fundamental marketing and third-party support challenges. The Wii U became Nintendo's lowest-selling home console, a stark reminder that innovation, without clear communication and broad software support, can falter. During this challenging period, the company faced another profound blow. In July 2015, Satoru Iwata, the beloved and visionary president who had guided Nintendo through the Blue Ocean triumphs, passed away at the age of 55 after battling a bile duct tumor. His death sent shockwaves through the industry. Iwata was revered for his empathetic leadership, deep understanding of game development, and his direct, often humorous, Iwata Asks interviews that offered rare insights into Nintendo's creative process. His passing left a significant void. Despite these hurdles, Nintendo showed signs of adapting. During this period, the company, while initially hesitant, began to embrace mobile gaming, establishing partnerships that would lead to phenomena like Pokémon Go and eventually releasing its own mobile titles such as Super Mario Run. The lessons from the Wii U's struggles and the steady performance of the 3DS were being quietly absorbed. Nintendo was already designing its next big move, a move that would fully integrate the lessons of home console struggles with handheld triumphs, ushering in a new era of play. Chapter 10, Switching Gears, Hybrid Dominance and Creative Freedom, 2017 present. The echoes of the Wii U's commercial struggles lingered, but Nintendo, a company built on a century of reinvention, was already plotting its next bold move. The lessons learned from the 3DS resurgence and the Wii U's missteps boiled down to a crucial insight. Clear communication of a simple, compelling concept, coupled with powerful first-party software, was paramount. This insight culminated in the Nintendo Switch, launched globally in March 2017. The Switch was presented with unparalleled clarity, a hybrid console that seamlessly transitions between a traditional home console, connected to a TV, and a powerful handheld device. This play anywhere, anytime, with anyone philosophy was instantly understandable and resonated deeply with consumers. The reveal trailer, showing people playing in diverse settings, from a living room to a rooftop party, from a plane to a basketball court, perfectly encapsulated its versatile appeal, in stark contrast to the widespread confusion surrounding the Wii U. Key to the Switch's versatility were the Joy-Con controllers. Small, detachable units that could function as individual controllers for two players in local multiplayer, attached to a grip for a more traditional controller feel, or slide onto the sides of the main tablet screen for portable play. This modular design unlocked new ways to play, cementing the Switch's identity as a social and adaptable system. Nintendo ensured the Switch's launch was nothing short of spectacular, pairing the console with a game that would redefine an entire genre. The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. This title was a radical departure for the storied series, offering an unprecedented open-world experience that emphasized player freedom, exploration, and emergent gameplay. It earned near-universal critical acclaim and quickly became a must-have game, driving console sales and setting the tone for the Switch's software library. Breath of the Wild wasn't just a game. It was a statement that Nintendo was back, creatively re-energized and unafraid to dismantle its own conventions. The hits kept coming. Less than a year after launch, Super Mario Odyssey arrived, another groundbreaking title that reimagined Mario's sandbox-style adventures for a new generation. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, an enhanced port of a Wii U title, became the Switch's best-selling game, showcasing the power of bringing great software to a wider audience. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate brought together every character in the series' history, creating the biggest crossover in gaming. In 2020, as the world grappled with the COVID-19 pandemic, Nintendo released Animal Crossing: New Horizons. This charming, life simulation game about building your own island paradise became a global cultural phenomenon. It offered a much-needed escape, a digital space for social connection and gentle creativity during lockdowns, further cementing Nintendo's unique ability to foster joy and community. Its massive success underscored Nintendo's continued knack for creating universally appealing titles that transcend traditional gaming demographics. Beyond its core gaming business, Nintendo also began aggressively leveraging its beloved intellectual properties into new forms of entertainment. Super Nintendo World theme park areas, first opening in Universal Studios Japan, brought the vibrant worlds of Mario to life in immersive, interactive experiences. In 2023, the Super Mario Bros. Movie, produced in partnership with Illumination, became a massive box office success, demonstrating the enduring power and global recognition of Nintendo's characters and expanding its reach further into mainstream pop culture. Under the new leadership of Shuntaro Furukawa, who became president in 2018, Nintendo continued to execute on this multifaceted strategy. The Switch not only surpassed the Wii U's lifetime sales, but also outperformed the original Wii, establishing itself as one of the best-selling gaming consoles of all time. Nintendo had found its rhythm again, building on its core strengths: innovative hardware and software integration, iconic characters, and a relentless focus on creating unique, joyful play experiences. The era of the hybrid console not only solidified Nintendo's market position, but also reaffirmed its unique and irreplaceable role in the global entertainment landscape. Chapter 11: The Human Touch. Iconic developers and creative philosophy. Behind every innovative console and every genre-defining game lies the ingenuity of human minds. While Nintendo's history is peppered with strategic business decisions and technological advancements, its enduring success owes much to a handful of visionary individuals and a deeply ingrained creative philosophy that permeates the entire company. First, there was Hiroshi Yamauchi, the autocratic, often ruthless president who took the company from a traditional card manufacturer to an unpredictable conglomerate. His brilliance lay not in engineering or design, but in his business acumen and his willingness to take massive risks. He was the one who saw the dead end in playing cards, who gambled on toys, then arcades, and finally home video games. He notoriously gave his developers immense creative freedom, provided they delivered results. His leadership, tough as it was, birthed the environment where future legends could thrive. He instilled a culture of embracing change and prioritizing results above all else. Then came Gunpei Yokoi, the engineer with a deceptively simple genius. His lateral thinking with withered technology philosophy became a cornerstone of Nintendo's design approach. Yokoi proved that true innovation wasn't about using the most cutting-edge components, but about cleverly repurposing readily available, often older, tech in novel ways. The Ultra Hand, the Game & Watch series, and most famously, the Game Boy, are all testaments to his unique ability to extract maximum fun and utility from minimal, cost-effective resources. His focus was always on practicality, affordability, and above all, the sheer delight of play. He understood that engaging mechanics often trumped flashy graphics, and of course, Shigeru Miyamoto, often hailed as the father of modern video gaming, whose creative fingerprints are on many of Nintendo's most iconic franchises. Miyamoto is not a technologist but an artist, a philosopher of play. His design principles are legendary. Fun first. Miyamoto famously prioritized gameplay mechanics and the player experience above all else. Graphics, story, even technology serve the core fun factor. He seeks what he calls the aha, moment for players, the sudden understanding and delight that comes from mastering a new mechanic. Intuitive design. He believes games should teach without telling. Instead of relying on tutorials, Miyamoto designs levels and mechanics that organically introduce concepts to the player. Think of Mario's first levels, which subtly teach jumping, power-ups, and enemy behavior without explicit instruction. Iteration and experimentation. Nintendo's development process is often characterized by long periods of ideation and refinement. Miyamoto's teams frequently build prototypes, test concepts, and discard ideas that don't quite click, nurturing creativity over strict deadlines. Omotenashi, Japanese hospitality. This nuanced cultural concept translates into a design ethos where games are welcoming, accessible, and designed to put the player at ease, fostering a positive, unfrustrating experience. This contrasts sharply with many games that prioritize challenge or complexity over player comfort. Finally, Satoru Iwata, the programmer who rose to president, embodied a unique blend of technical understanding and visionary leadership. He was an outsider to the Yamauchi family, chosen for his deep knowledge of game development and his ability to connect with creatives. His blue ocean strategy, expanding the gaming population by creating new markets rather than competing for existing ones, fundamentally shifted Nintendo's corporate direction. Under Iwata, Nintendo focused on accessibility, simple interfaces, and unique experiences, like the Wii and DS, appealing to non-gamers. His famous Iwata Asks interview series showcased his genuine curiosity and humility, offering unprecedented insights into Nintendo's development culture and personalities. He led with an empathetic hand, ensuring that despite the company's size, the human element of creation remained paramount. His passing was a deep loss for the industry, but his vision continues to shape Nintendo's present and future. These figures, along with countless unsung heroes in Nintendo's development studios, have cultivated a unique internal culture. It's a culture that prizes long-term vision over short-term trends, internal research and development over acquiring external studios, and strict quality control over rapid deployment. While this approach has sometimes led to strategic missteps, such as the N64's cartridge decision or the Wii U's confusing marketing, it always reverts to a core belief that video games, at their heart, are about joy and unique interactive experiences. Nintendo's secret, therefore, isn't just in its technology or its characters, but in the human touch that prioritizes the simple, universal appeal of fun. It's in listening to Miyamoto's garden metaphors for game worlds or Yakai's insistence on using withered technology. This unwavering philosophy, passed down through generations of leadership, is what truly sets Nintendo apart and allows it to consistently redefine what active entertainment means. Chapter 12, Nintendo's Living Legacy, Culture, Community, and the Future of Play. Nintendo's journey from a humble playing card manufacturer to a global entertainment powerhouse is not just a tale of technological innovation or shrewd business acumen. It is, at its heart, a story about culture and community. How a company's products can transcend their original purpose to become interwoven with the fabric of society, fostering passionate fan bases and inspiring new forms of creative expression. The impact of Nintendo's characters is undeniable. Mario, Link, Pikachu, and Donkey Kong are not merely mascots. They are universally recognized icons, figures that transcend demographic boundaries and cultural barriers. These characters have appeared in countless fan creations, from intricate cosplay at conventions to vast libraries of fan art, music, and animation. Their stories and worlds have become a shared language, connecting people across continents and generations. This cultural ubiquity is perhaps best exemplified by the vibrant communities that have grown around Nintendo's games. The competitive multiplayer scene for Super Smash Bros., for instance, is a testament to the game's deep mechanics and enduring appeal. Major tournaments attract thousands of spectators and millions of online viewers, showcasing the intensity and camaraderie within the community. Similarly, titles like Splatoon have fostered enthusiastic esports scenes, demonstrating that Nintendo can cultivate competitive environments tailored to its unique gameplay styles. Beyond competitive gaming, Nintendo has cultivated a loyal and active community that thrives on sharing experiences. The success of Animal Crossing, New Horizons during the COVID-19 pandemic perfectly illustrates this. For many, their personal islands became crucial digital safe havens and social hubs during lockdowns, demonstrating the deep emotional connection players feel to Nintendo's worlds. Fan-created content for this game, from custom clothing designs to meticulously crafted islands, populated social media, turning play into a collaborative, community-driven act. Recognizing the immense cultural capital of its intellectual property, Nintendo has increasingly leveraged its characters and worlds beyond video games. The development of Super Nintendo World theme park areas within Universal Studios resorts is a prime example. These immersive lands allow fans to step directly into the Mushroom Kingdom, interact with familiar elements like question blocks and power-up bands, and even collect coins as they wander. It's a physical manifestation of Nintendo's ability to create joyful, tangible experiences from its digital creations, blurring the lines between game and reality. Visitors, many of whom grew up with Nintendo, are not just riding attractions. They are fulfilling childhood dreams, physically engaging with the worlds they explored on screen. Further solidifying its expansion into broader entertainment, Nintendo partnered with Illumination for the Super Mario Bros. Movie, released in 2023. The film became a massive global box office success, proving the enduring appeal of the Mario brand and showcasing Nintendo's willingness to take more direct control of its intellectual property in other media. This strategic move signaled a renewed commitment to becoming an all-encompassing entertainment company, leveraging its beloved characters across film, theme parks, and potentially other avenues, such as merchandise, animation, and beyond. Looking forward, Nintendo's future trajectory appears rooted in its core philosophy, prioritizing unique play experiences, even if they sometimes defy industry trends. Its position as a toy company that evolved into a video game company is now shifting to that of a comprehensive entertainment company. This evolution suggests a continued focus on intuitive hardware and software integration, an aggressive strategy for expanding intellectual property into new media, and a steadfast dedication to its global community of fans. Nintendo's living legacy is therefore not just about past achievements. It is about an ongoing, symbiotic relationship between its creative output and the global community it inspires. It is a testament to the timeless appeal of imaginative play, collective joy, and the power of well-crafted experiences to bring people together. As long as there is a desire for connection, challenge, and wonder, Nintendo, with its rich history and unwavering commitment to fun, seems poised to continue shaping the future of play for generations to come. Chapter 13, Conclusion, The Enduring Magic of Play. From the delicate brushstrokes on a Hanafuda card in 1889 to the seamless transition between TV and handheld on the Nintendo Switch today, Nintendo's journey is a saga of relentless adaptation, daring innovation, and profound resilience. It is a story not of linear progression, but of cyclical reinvention. A company that has repeatedly faced the brink of obsolescence, only to pivot, learn from its past, and emerge stronger and more influential than before. We've seen how Hiroshi Yamauchi's audacious, often comical, diversification efforts outside of playing cards ultimately forged a company unafraid to experiment, even if it meant embarrassing failure. We witnessed the birth of the modern video game industry through the unexpected triumph of Donkey Kong, a game born from desperation, and how the NES single-handedly rescued a crashed market by meticulously controlling quality and re-engaging consumers. The Game Boy, a masterclass in withered technology, revolutionized portable gaming by prioritizing practicality over raw power. The 3D era brought Nintendo both its greatest artistic triumphs with Super Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time, and its most significant strategic missteps with the N64's cartridge decision, leading to a loss of market share. This challenge, however, led directly to one of Nintendo's most brilliant periods, the blue ocean strategy of the DS and Wii. Under the visionary leadership of Satoru Iwata, Nintendo successfully expanded the gaming population by embracing intuitive design and casual accessibility. proving that innovation lay not just in technological horsepower, but in finding new ways to invite everyone into the world of play. Even the struggles of the Wii U, a console misunderstood and hampered by confusing marketing, contained vital lessons that were ultimately absorbed. The subsequent global dominance of the Nintendo Switch, a console that seamlessly blends the best of Nintendo's handheld and home console philosophies, stands as a testament to Nintendo's capacity for self-correction and continuous evolution. What threads bind this century-long tapestry together? Firstly, an unwavering commitment to fun. Nintendo consistently prioritizes the joy of playing, creating games that are intuitive, delightful, and often universally appealing. Graphics and technological prowess are always in service of this fundamental goal. Secondly, a remarkable and persistent culture of innovation and risk-taking. Whether it's the Wii Remote, the DS touchscreen, or the Switch's hybrid design, Nintendo has rarely shied away from unconventional approaches, often carving out new markets rather than simply competing within existing ones. This willingness to embrace and learn from failure is a hallmark of their DNA. Finally, the brilliance of its human capital. From the business acumen of Yamauchi to the design genius of Yock and Miyamoto, and the empathetic vision of Iwata, Nintendo has nurtured and empowered unique talents who have fundamentally shaped the company and the entire entertainment industry. Nintendo's story is a compelling reminder that the true power of technology lies not just in its complexity, but in its ability to connect, to inspire, and to foster moments of shared human experience. Its products are more than just circuits and pixels. They are catalysts for imagination, social hubs, and timeless sources of wonder. In an increasingly fragmented and rapidly changing world, Nintendo continues to stand as a beacon of joy and play. It is a company that understands that the core impulse to play is universal and enduring, crossing cultures, ages, and backgrounds. With theme parks bringing digital worlds to life and blockbuster movies expanding its narrative reach, Nintendo is no longer just a video game company. It is a global entertainment force that continues to define, redefine, and celebrate the enduring magic of play itself. And as long as there is fun to be had, be it with a stack of cards, a plastic remote, or a console that fits in your hand, Nintendo will likely be there, inviting us all to press start. Chapter 14. Acknowledgements and further reading. Acknowledgements. Writing a comprehensive history of a company as vast and influential as Nintendo is a monumental task, standing on the shoulders of giants. This book would not have been possible without the insightful work, meticulous research, and passionate dedication of countless journalists, historians, documentarians, and fans who have chronicled Nintendo's story over the decades. My deepest gratitude goes to these individuals, and to the past and present employees of Nintendo, whose visionary work has shaped the world of interactive entertainment. To the readers, thank you for embarking on this journey through a century of play. Further reading. For those eager to delve deeper into the fascinating world of Nintendo, its history, and the broader context of the video game industry, the following resources are highly recommended. Chef David, Game Over: How Nintendo Conquered the World. Vintage, 1994. A groundbreaking and pivotal early account of Nintendo's rise in the U.S. Gorges Florent, The History of Nintendo series, Pix and Love Publishing. A detailed, well-researched multi-volume series covering Nintendo's earliest days through its modern console history, often containing rare images and exhaustive information. Harris Blake J. Console Wars. Sega, Nintendo, and the Battle That Defined a Generation. HarperCollins, 2014. An engaging narrative nonfiction account of the fierce rivalry between Nintendo and Sega in the 1990s. Kent, Stephen L. The Ultimate History of Video Games, From Pong to Pokémon and Beyond, the story behind the craze that touched our lives and changed the world. Prima Publishing, 2001. A broad survey of video game history, providing excellent context for Nintendo's place within it. Iwata Satoru. Iwata asks. Nintendo. A series of online interviews, available on Nintendo's official websites and various fan archives, where former Nintendo president Satoru Iwata interviewed developers about various Nintendo projects. These offer unparalleled direct insight into Nintendo's creative process and philosophy. Donovan Tristan, Replay, The History of Video Games. Yellow Ant 2010. Another comprehensive look at video game history, presenting a broader industry perspective. Kohler Chris, Power Up, How Japanese Video Games Gave the World an Extra Life. DK Publishing, 2004. Explores the significant influence of Japanese game developers, including Nintendo, on the global gaming landscape. IGN.com, GameSpot.com, Eurogamer.net, Ars Technica, The Verge. Online gaming news and historical archives that contain a wealth of articles, interviews, and deep dives into specific Nintendo games, consoles, and events. Noclip YouTube channel. Documentary series on video game development, including excellent features on the creation of The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and other influential games.